Madam Speaker, thanks so much for joining us here today, and thanks to all of you for being in the room and those watching online. You've been called many things in the course of your esteemed career, Madam Speaker. You've been called a daughter, a wife, mother, a state chair, congresswoman, a speaker, Speaker Emerita. But there's a new nickname for you that's going around, and that is the Godmother. The Godmother. And I got this yesterday. I'm not sure if you want to add it to your personal collection, but
I really told whoever put this out.
Yeah.
Without my consent. I don't
Yes.
like it.
You don't like it
I don't like it at all. No,
because of the Italian kind of.
Mimi, my grandmother name.
Your mic.
My grandmother name, Mimi. He skipped that and he went to something somebody else decided to name.
You don't like it because of the connotation about Italian Americans, or because of the connotation about you're operating behind the scenes this year,
I don't
or both?
appreciate people making pins without
your consent.
and giving it out as if it's a gift. No, I'm not amused by that.
Yeah, okay.
But anyway, let's be amused by something else. We have a wonderful day here. I don't know why he started with that, but that's Jonathan.
She's already going negative on me here, and we haven't had a first sip of water yet. So, tell me what you think happened once President Biden passed the baton to Kamala Harris. Because you know this party so well. What changed in the party?
First of all, one thing that did not change was the respect that everyone had for President Biden, that his legacy is something that was so consequential, in fact, for this modern era, for a president just with one term to have accomplished that much was just really very, very successful. So we want that legacy to be upheld, and that persists. What happened also, though, is that the urgency of the winning the election was setting in as we got closer. And the thought that a person of such horror could possibly even drive by the White House, much less ever go into it again, was something that was very compelling.
This is Donald Trump.
I don't use his name. Yeah. So in any event, again, timing. You're getting closer to the election.
Right.
The urgency is setting in.
Right.
We want to save the legacy and use it as the basis for. We've proven we can get the job done. We have to do more. Nobody votes for you because of what you have done. They don't want to know what you're going to do.
And the incumbent was on a sort of uncertain, to put it charitably, trajectory in the summer.
Well, I thought that the campaign could have been better, but nonetheless, that is neither here nor there.
Right.
We're there now.
It happened.
And we are.
But it wasn't, Madam Speaker.
It's going magnificently.
It wasn't just the presidential, though. It was also the possibility that the down ticket could have gotten caught up in a difficult year, and you could have obviously lost control of the Senate and hurt your chances to win back the House too, right? There was down ballot impact as well, right?
Well, I was determined that we would win the House. That is a responsibility I take very personally, politically, officially, in every way. Our members thought that they were in pretty good shape with the status quo.
Right.
If that were to change, then that would change our prospect.
Yes.
You don't add by subtracting. We had to hold the numbers that we had, and then we had to add. Now we need 4 or 5 to win the majority.
Right.
But I want more than that. I want more than
So you were looking at the possibility of a status quo or a worse House election, which would have meant not winning back the House, and that was a real problem.
Well, Jonathan, it's a horrible thought, and I just say it and dismiss it.
Sure.
But should there have been a situation where we didn't win the White House and the Republicans had the House, it would have been a horrible thing for our democracy, for our country, for our working families, for our children.
Was it hard for you to say the things you did? Because you and President Biden have had a long and very warm relationship. Was it personally hard for you?
Well, I won't go into that right now. Right now, we're talking about what is going to be hard is to just keep everybody focused on winning the election, because there's so much euphoria and there's nothing automatic here. This takes, as I say, the 3 M's: mobilizing, owning the ground, getting your grassroots operation. Our VIPs, our volunteers in politics, they're our VIPs to make the calls and text and tweet and all of that, door knock and all of that. That's the mobilization. And then the messaging has to be with clarity and persistence and the rest, but also unifying and not menacing.
I think very few people know this, but one of the most formative elections for you was the 2000 election, where, as most folks in this room know, I hope you do, that Al Gore lost narrowly to George W. Bush. What's less remembered is that Democrats were widely seen as having a chance to take back the House that year, and you oversaw the effort in California, won back House seats in California, but there was only one other Democrat to flip a seat the rest of the map that year, and that was Mike Ross in Arkansas, who had help from Bill Clinton because Clinton had time on his hands.
But Mike Ross had a very strong personal campaign.
Fair enough. Was that in the back of your mind at all this summer, that scenario where 2000, a promising cycle, and boy, at the end, you lose the White House and you don't get back the House?
No, because we thought we won the White House, quite frankly, in 2000. But no, what was on my mind was what the future.
Yeah.
That's what elections are about, is the future.
Yeah.
And that we would win. But that year, since you mentioned it,
yes,
we needed 7 seats to win the House. 7 seats. I told the National Democrats, I had been raising money for them since I came to Congress, but I had no say. No, I couldn't say, we need a poll here, we need a mailer here, we need a whatever. They just took the money and did what they did. So I said, that's interesting. You go do that. We'll raise money for you in California for you to spend the rest of the country. But we're going to control our own money in California. I'll give you 4 seats. I'll give you 4 seats. They need 7. I'll give you 4 seats. The day of the election in California, this is so self-serving. Let me put up a self-serving sign.
Never, never.
Self-serving. I'll give you 4 seats. The day of the election, the morning of that election, in California, we had 21 Democrats and 21 Republicans.
Right.
Okay. No, excuse me, 26 Democrats and 26 Republicans. That night, after the election, we went from 26 to 31 Democrats,
right.
21 Republicans.
Right.
And we were like, well, we've won the House.
Yeah.
We've given them 5.
Right.
Not 4. We gave them 5 Democrats.
Wasn't enough.
All they did was win 1, and they lost in the rest of the country. So then it was, we've got to win this. There's just no. But that was a running start to have a margin of 10 in California. Now we have 40 Democrats and 12 Republicans. And in this election, we'd like to get them down to single digits.
I was going to ask you about that. Does the House majority go through California this time around?
Well, the House majority doesn't exist without California. We have, a 28-vote margin in California.
But I mean the flips.
New York, I think, mostly. Because
New
New
York
York
mostly,
in the last election, remember in the last election, they said the wise guys said we were going to lose 30 or 40 seats. We're like, what are you talking about? You don't have any idea what you're talking about. We are on the ground.
Right.
We are ground creatures.
And you lost very few, but it was all New York, right, last time?
5 seats in New York.
Yeah, what happened last time in New York, do you think?
Well, I think it related to the gubernatorial race.
The governor's race, yeah. Have you spoken with Governor Hochul about making sure that this time around you're in better shape?
No, I've spoken to the future Speaker, Hakeem Jeffries.
About it?
Yeah.
And he feels confident that this time around New York's going to...
Yes, as recently as this morning.
Yeah, what'd he say?
You'll have to ask him.
He's not here right now. You are, Speaker. Hakeem, he's not here. So what'd he say?
Well, we're optimistic about our races.
About New York, yeah.
And we will mobilize to win on the ground. We'll message progressive, bold, but non-menacing, unifying to the country, and we will have the money, the 3 M's, mobilization, message, money.
I read somewhere that one of those freshmen from New York, one of the Republican freshmen, I think he's an Italian American, I think came up to you and said, "We'd love to have you come to the Sons of Italy dinner," or something like that. And you said, "I'm not going to come to your dinner. I want to beat you." Is that true? Is that true?
Not exactly that way. It is true that I had other plans for dinner.
Okay.
Like a hot dog at home.
Your sock drawer had to be rearranged that
But
night.
I have told him on a number of occasions that to prepare for defeat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But here's the thing. Well, of course, we all love to have more Italian Americans in the country.
Yeah.
Democrats. And before, when we had, shall we say, our commonality of interest, our shared values, it wasn't that we were sharing values with people who were toadies to Donald Trump.
Yes.
We had people who were true to their constituents, who were representatives of their district.
Yeah.
So it's a little different now. But anyway, let's talk about Kamala Harris. We're going forward. This is going to be a great election.
Well, speaking of the House, we're joined by D-Calif from Michigan, the pride of Flint. We should say hello to him.
Hi, Dan.
One of those retirees, though. You got to hold that seat. Are you going to in Michigan?
That's the plan. Actually, I was there last Wednesday at the invitation of the governor, and the spirit was high and the rest. Dan, I was with him yesterday to honor him in the Michigan delegation for his service. This has been a remarkable person. He came to Congress well known to us because his uncle,
Dale
Kildee,
yeah.
had been a member for many, many years,
Yes.
a really progressive, wonderful Democrat. And then when Dan came,
Yeah.
right from day one,
Yeah.
with all the respect and the name of Kildee, he made his...
You got on Ways and Means, too.
He was effective from the start, of course, Ways and Means. But not only that, if you could have seen how he represented the people of Flint.
Yeah.
He brought us all there.
Did he ask you to get on Ways and Means, or did you offer it to him?
Well, it's always sort of a combination.
Yeah. Did you try to get him not to retire this time around?
Well,
Try to talk him out of
that's
it?
a personal decision, and he knows I respect him.
Did she? Talk you out of retiring this time around?
No.
All right, okay.
He was ready. He was ready, but he may be retiring, but his legacy lives on in the Congress, and he taught so many people. This is a foul deed that was literally and figuratively on the people of Flint in terms of the water.
Yes.
And so he's coming in to ask for money for the water, the this or that. But not only that, he had hearings about what that was doing to the brains of these children and what doctors said they had to have in nutrition. A place like that doesn't have a big produce market every few blocks.
So, Speaker, let's stay on the House for 1 second. So what's the best case scenario for the House this fall? How many seats could Democrats pick up, do you think? What's the best case?
Well, under the leadership of Susan Delbene, who is our chair of the committee, the campaign committee, and the leadership of Hakeem, who's wonderful,
Yes.
Catherine Clark, Pete Aguilar, Ted Lieu, the leadership.
Yes, sir. Yes.
They're all top-notch, fabulous, policy-oriented,
So what's the best
for
case?
the people,
Yes.
politically astute to get the job done. So we
20
need
seats?
5 to no.
No.
We need 5 to win.
Yeah.
But I want more. So we'll see what that.
Could you get 20?
Well, you never know. We'll just
Never
see.
know.
We'll just see. But I don't see.
Let's talk.
I have the luxury now of not being the speaker or the leader, so I don't have the responsibility to give you a guess.
Yes.
I can just say.
But you have the freedom to give me a guess now because you don't have those burdens, and you're not. So let's talk about your fellow Californian, Kamala Harris. Does she, do you think, get underestimated? Do her political skills get underestimated? Or have they been the last few years because she was not really a creature of Washington? She was new to D.C.?
Not by us in California. First of all, they always underestimate women. It's a thing, it's a thing. But to their peril. But in any event, when Kamala ran for a district attorney, she ran against the incumbent. Her boss.
Right.
She ran against her. It took great political astuteness to win that race. When she ran for attorney general in the state, she was behind. It was
Yeah.
a very, very tough race.
Yeah.
But she was very clever in how she kind of wanted to be everybody's sort of second choice thing before we had the second choice
Right.
balloting. And then she won that. That was a very big deal.
Yes.
So
And a tough year, 2010.
a very tough year.
Yeah.
But and then of course the general. But the primary was very hard though.
Right, sure, first. Yeah.
What I say of her, of knowing her for so long, personally I know her as a person of great faith. That faith takes her to being involved in the community,
Right.
caring for people and the rest. Officially, she's very strong. She knows the policy,
Yeah.
she knows the strategy,
Yes.
she knows all of that, and she's eloquent in speaking
Yeah.
about it, as you will see further tonight, but have seen. Politically, she's very astute.
Is she a moderate or a
astute.
progressive?
Well, I think of her as a Democrat, and Democrats are part moderate, part progressive. It depends on what the issue is. But I think that no one has anything to be concerned about where you govern from. Where you run from in a primary may not be where you govern from.
Will she govern from the center next year?
You have to.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to. That's
Well, why?
Because that's where the public is. Keep saying my members. For 20 years, I was leader or speaker, and I still call them my members.
Yes.
But my
That's okay.
members.
We'll allow it.
Okay.
It's okay.
Right, Dan, you know I'm just my members. Take it. But their job title and their job description are one and the same, representative.
Yeah.
So I represent San Francisco, and I say to my constituents, not everybody
Right.
represents San Francisco. And when I visited Michigan last week at
Yeah.
the governor's so sensational. She'll speak tonight, it'll be spectacular. But when I was there with her, I said to them, I say, bless you, in my district, I say, what works in Michigan
Sure.
works in San Francisco. What works in San Francisco might not work in
Right.
Michigan, and we must win Michigan. We must win electoral college state.
How can she convey to the public that she will, in fact, govern from the center, like you said?
Well, you listen to what she says.
Yeah.
I mean, in other words, people who run for president of the United States, vice president of the United States,
Yeah.
and isn't Tim Walz, aren't we so proud of him? We know firsthand how great he is in the House. 12 years. They are themselves. Be yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
Take it where you want to take it. What is your vision,
Yeah.
your values, what's in your heart of
Right.
concern for people? What happens in terms of policy is about the Congress of the United States,
Right.
the United States Senate, the United States House. For the election, though, you be you, put out your message.
Right.
We will do the ground, own it, get out the vote, message non-menacingly, and have the resources for you to win.
You mentioned gender a minute ago, and part of the reason why she's underestimated is because of her gender. I was curious, do you think her gender helps her or hurts her in this campaign?
Here's what I think. Thank you for asking. I think that Kamala Harris is, again, policy-wise and values strong, politically astute to win this election. She happens to be a woman, and that is icing on the cake. But it's not. People want to know, what does your presidency mean to me at my table? So I think that you will see her just as she does. She talks about the kitchen table issues, what we're going to do to lower costs for people, whether it's groceries or child care, whether it's home health care,
Right.
whether it's housing, whether it's security, whether we're talking about the border in the neighborhoods in terms of guns and the rest. She will.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about it because I know she knows the calibration. Hey, Dan, how many times have we seen members of our House be very one way when they're in the House? Very conservative, maybe, more than the rest
Like,
of
say,
the
Tim Walz, for example.
No, well,
okay.
I'll get to Tim in a
Okay.
minute. Some who shall be nameless right now who are in the Senate, they're very conservative in the House because they represent a conservative district. Then they won statewide, and woo, they're out there. It doesn't mean they change their values. They change their representation.
Right.
They change their.
And so what you're saying is that she reflected California's values when she was a senator and the Biden administration's values, and now she's going to reflect a different set of values for the country, right? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not sure how I interpret your inference to be drawn from when you said California values.
Well, more progressive, right?
Well, we are progressive
Yeah.
and successful and getting things done.
But the country at
for the
large,
American people.
it's more in the center. You said it yourself a
Was
minute
it
ago.
when you're in the Congress and you pass these bills?
Yeah.
Look at this. What this Joe Biden did, right from day one, came in and passed this American Recovery Act. America child tax credit, taking 50% of your children out of poverty.
Yeah.
That's a progressive idea.
Speaker, are there issues where she ought to sort of stake out her own path and consider separating herself from President Biden?
That's up to her. I don't think there's a political reason to do so.
You don't?
But I think that she.
Even on Gaza?
Well, you have to be true to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I keep saying. Be yourself. There's nobody like any of you in the history of the world. You are you. You're individual. You're authentic. You're sincere. You're just, it's so remarkable. So she has to project her own authenticity and, of course, shared values with Joe Biden, shared vision for our country, so different from the other person. And as she makes a judgment about the day-to-day on issues, that's completely up to her.
There's another Californian, obviously, who was widely seen as running for the presidency someday, and that's Governor Gavin Newsom, who I know you're very fond of, and have known since literally he was a newborn.
I knew him before he was born.
Before he was born. We'll keep it. We'll yeah. You can use
No, but I
congratulations.
knew him when his family was,
Getting married, yeah.
yes, getting married and hoping for this
Yeah.
beautiful boy.
So, and obviously, he's now a two-term governor of California. Do you think he could be an asset in President Harris's administration? And if so, what role do you think he could play?
You'll have to ask him about his career path.
I have.
Well,
It was disrupted last month.
but he's remarkable. This is a person, and we take great pride. And look at California. The first woman Speaker of the House, California. The first woman to become President of the United States, California. Because California lets you be who you are.
Sure.
My constituents is liberal as progressive as my district is, liberal, whatever we're calling it.
Yeah.
They gave me the latitude
Yeah.
to be the Speaker in the Congress for the country, and that's what will happen for her. As far as Gavin is concerned, he's brilliant, he's knowledgeable, he's visionary, he's values-based, he's, what's the word I'm looking? He gets the job done, he's operational.
Yeah.
But this is an extraordinary
Do you feel bad for him?
talent.
Do you feel bad for him?
But I do.
Do you feel bad for him?
No,
You don't?
no. No, I don't feel bad for him. I don't think he feels bad for himself. He's the governor of California. He's the governor of California. No, I feel proud for him. You know, and I see him in action because so many of the things that we have done. For 20 years, I have looked out for California's well-being because, you know, there's been this ABC, anything but California, so sometimes the members were...
Does that still have an impact that a California liberal or San Francisco values the famous Gene Kirkpatrick line from the 80s? Is that still an impediment, do you think, to Kamala Harris this fall?
I certainly hope not. But it doesn't...
How could she overcome that, Ralph?
Let's put it this way. we have two different visions of America.
Yeah.
We have a president who has just very selflessly passed the baton, who produced 15, 16 million jobs.
Yes.
Versus this other guy who's running, who had the worst job record of any president since Herbert Hoover.
Right.
Okay. We have a party with a vision and a president who, again,
Yes.
helping the middle class. This guy did one thing, that other one in the other party, one thing when he was president, and he had the majority in the
Yes.
Congress.
Yes.
A tax bill that benefited,
Right.
the top 1% and added with a T, trillion dollars to the national debt. So we're talking about different values.
Yes.
It's not a question of
But it's
one
the
thing or
current
another. It's
yeah.
a question of the future of our country and the contrast.
But it's the current president, who's a Democrat, who's currently miffed at you, and obviously has not called you back. Does it bother you that he's upset at you?
Well,
bother you?
See, I'm not the leader or the speaker anymore. When I was, we spoke more regularly, and now
But
we
you know
haven't
he's
spoken
irked.
for a few weeks. But that would not be unusual.
But there's been reporting, he's been pretty plain about this himself, that he's upset at you. Does that bother you that your friend's upset at you?
What bothers me would have been the re-election of Donald Trump as president of the United States. That's what bothers me. And that's what bothers me. And I think that would bother him. But,
There you have it.
But we have a lot in the bank with each other in terms of our Catholicism, our dedication to democratic values and vision for our country and the rest.
Do you and Paul plan to have he and Jill to Napa or maybe SF next year for dinner? Can you envision that?
Our plans would not have changed for what we might have done otherwise. No.
So he's still welcome at the Pelosi home.
Are you kidding me?
He is, right?
Joe Biden is welcome any place he wants
Mr. President,
to go.
you heard it.
But let's not go there. We really have.
Pick up the phone, Mr. President. Call her back.
What I want to say to all of you is we're very euphoric now. Everybody's excited. I just got on my phone a message from one of our candidates in the Midwest saying, my fundraising has gone up 300%,
Yeah.
my volunteers 150%, all of that, my polls are good, all
There
of
you go.
this, I can
You're
do
rocking.
this. And that is, so that's good.
Yeah.
But that's today.
Yes.
Now what we have to do is
What's ahead of
turn
you.
that
Yeah.
into a victory.
Yeah.
And that takes work. The word is a campaign.
Yeah.
It's a campaign.
Yeah.
So when you talk about this, that, and the other thing, what the other side may say about Kamala, this, that, or the other, we don't agonize, we organize to get the job done.
Yeah.
And it takes work, and it takes every minute. Some of my mottos are, resting is rusting. And we just have to spend no wasted time, no underutilized resources, and no regrets the day after the election that we could have walked one more precinct in electoral college state. Some difference, because this is all, a lot of it's close. We just came out of the Olympics. Gold, silver, bronze, honored to be an Olympian within 1 second. This is all close.
It's a margins game. It's a margins game. Have you spoken to Kamala Harris since she became the nominee?
Since last night? What was
No. Since President Biden dropped out.
Yes.
You have.
I don't know what you're saying, but
Yeah. Since President Biden dropped out, you talked to her. And did she ask you for advice about what she should do?
Everybody knows about me. Be yourself.
Yeah.
Just
right.
have the confidence in you.
Yeah.
That is your authenticity. That is where your comfort level is. That is where your success will spring from. But we will be on the ground,
Helping out.
in the messaging and all the rest.
Do you think that the country has appreciably changed since 2016 when it comes to women in power?
I think that Hillary Clinton was the best prepared person to be nominated for president until her time. Better than her husband, he would have admitted. She was Secretary of State. She was a United States Senator, all that. Better than Obama, and he has admitted that
Yeah.
in terms of his better than George Bush. I don't know whether
Yeah.
he would admit that or not, but nonetheless. Not the father Bush, I'm talking about the son. So of that generation. And she did win for, it's no use relitigating an election, but she didn't win. She didn't win the election, but she won the campaign.
Right.
She showed women you can get out
Right,
there, you can
right.
do this and all of that.
It made it easier for today.
She has
Yeah.
blazed a trail.
Yeah,
She has
yeah,
blazed a
yeah.
trail. So yes, I think it's easier. But as I said, if I'm a struggling homemaker, say, tell me how it's going to help my life and
Yeah.
how I can afford to raise
Yeah.
my family.
Right.
Or you can tell me you should vote for me because I'm a woman. Let's talk about reducing cost, expanding liberty, and
Yeah.
the rest. Talking about Roe v. Wade. Oh, I have to tell you one more thing. So Roe v. Wade, when we put the bill on the floor to enshrine it into the law, of course no Republicans voted for it. That's what they believe. Okay. Then I put down a bill that said women have a right to contraception.
Yes.
Some of the members said, you're letting these guys off the hook. They're going to look sane after voting against Roe v. Wade. Don't you worry about that. 8 Republicans voted for women to have a right to contraception. 195 Republicans voted against women having the right to contraception. So we just have to make sure people know.
Yeah.
And again, what it means, because contraception is a kitchen table issue. It's an economic issue. It's a freedom issue.
One of the things last year when you were considering whether or not to run for re-election that we talked about was the possibility of the former president, who you call, what's his name, coming back to power. I know that weighed on you, and that you wanted to see out 2024 and run for re-election yourself to ensure that you could do your part to keep him out of the White House again. If Kamala Harris does win, do you feel like that's a mission accomplished for you and your career, that Trump was defeated once again and he's gone and you've elected Kamala Harris? Is that a mission accomplished moment for you?
I don't think much about that. What I think about is putting one good day in front of another to elect Kamala Harris. Not about my plans, but about America's plans.
The day will come, though, at some point where you will, in fact, retire.
Oh, and maybe I will, and maybe we'll come together. You may be early to know or not so early to know.
Wow. It could depend on my next question. Which is, when that day does come and you do retire, do you want to see your daughter Christine run for your seat?
I'm not here to talk about that, nor have Christine and I talked about that. But stay focused on the election at hand.
Okay.
And I say that because a lot of people are already running for other offices beyond this election. And I said the best thing you can do for your election next year is to fight hard to win, for the Democrats to win this election this year. I've been thinking about being a stand-up comedian. I've been thinking about being a dessert consultant. I don't see enough chocolate in the restaurants and all this.
What's your best stand-up material? Is there one joke that you already have in your repertoire that you want to try out today?
No, not necessarily. Today, I'm talking about winning the election.
Okay.
Winning the election. But I coach basketball on the side, too.
Coach basketball on the
Yeah,
side.
Yes, I do.
You taught Steph Curry how to shoot, right?
Well, here's what I say.
Who's he play for again? Steph
When
Curry?
in doubt,
Lakers?
when in doubt, I have a couple basketball things. I do a little football and baseball, too, but here's the basketball thing if you want a closer.
Yeah.
When in doubt, shoot,
Okay. Okay.
and always be in doubt.
I like that. Okay. Final question for you, because I don't have time to get to my question about the Phil Burton political coaching tree, which is similar to the Bill Walsh coaching tree, two great San Franciscans.
Yeah, but Phil was not my coach. Leo McCarthy.
Well, this is a whole different story, I know, about Leo McCarthy was the former lieutenant governor of California. And
Speaker of the House.
Speaker of the House, right. The last question I have for you is something that I actually asked your friend, speaking of San Franciscans, the former mayor, Willie Brown. I said, Mayor, I said, what's the one sentence that you would like to be remembered for as sort of your political legacy? And Mayor Brown shot back, didn't serve any time, which is a classic.
He may have taught that to the other guy.
It's tempting to end on that note right there. But let me ask you, though, what's the one sentence Nancy Pelosi political legacy? Sum it up for me.
Well, there's nothing that compares to providing tens of millions of people access to quality, affordable health care. So I always have to say the affordable health care. And that other guy says Obamacare sucks.
Yeah.
Without going into that terminology too further,
Yes.
but Obamacare cures. To me, that is the purpose. My whole purpose was for the children. I went from housewife to House member to House Speaker for the children, and my legacy is what we are leaving for the children. Healthcare is very important in all that as well.
Healthcare it is. Speaker Nancy Pelosi, thank you so much.
My pleasure.